And now a little dose of history. This week, 8 letters were released by the National Archives from Bess Truman to her husband Harry. This was remarkable because she burned 1,300 such letters. Some escaped the inferno, though, and to talk about them is Harry Truman's grandson, Clifton Truman Daniel, who joins us from Chicago. The first question I want to ask is, why did she burn so many letters?
My grandmother was a very private person, actually a shy person, and she pretty much figured that her business was her own business and nobody else's.
And how did these get through the process, and where did you find them?
They found them, archivists from the Truman Library found them tucked away in desk drawers and in books as bookmarks. My grandfather came home earlier on in 1955, around Christmas time. He came home and he found my grandmother in front of the fire throwing in stacks of her letters to him, and he stopped her and he said, "Bess, what are you doing? Think of history." And she said, "Oh, I have," and kept throwing the stacks in. These were just overlooked. She just missed them.
What's your favorite one of the collection?
They're all my favorites. I think probably my favorite one was the first one I opened was, I think it was July 16th, 1923. He's gone off to National Guard training camp, which he did every summer in July, and they wrote back and forth during that time. And she writes him on the first morning that he's gone, "There was a big black bug in my bed last night, and I had to kill it myself. It wasn't the first time I'd wished for you."
The great thing also about these letters is, of course, they give us some little insight into this enduring and extraordinary relationship. Can you talk a little bit about that? We've come to know about first couples in the spotlight over the last few years in a kind of distorted way. This intimate portrait tells us something about these two. What does it tell us?
Yeah, they're very normal letters. They cover the whole range of normal family activities. She's talking about the ironing. She's worried about his health. She's worried if he's getting enough good food at National Guard camp. There was a series of letters in 1925. He'd gone to camp in 1923 at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and in 1925 he's at Fort Riley. The Fort Riley camp has a pool. My grandmother was not a great swimmer. My grandfather was a pretty good swimmer and loved to swim, but she worried about him being in this pool. He reported that it was a freezing cold pool and it was great for his health and it's full of good swimmers, so it's okay. And a lot of the letters say, "No deep water swimming, please." She's writing back, "Don't go near the deep end, watch it." So she's worried about his health. She's reporting on the family. They're very normal letters. They're fun. She has a sense of humor. They're just writing back and forth, two people very much in love, missing each other madly. Almost every letter starts with, "I didn't get a letter this morning, so I'm in a bad mood," or "Wow, 2 letters came today. This is a fantastic day." So they really, really connected and really missed each other when they were apart.
And were they writing pretty much every day back and forth?
Twice a day. Once or twice a day, at least once. In fact, they get to chiding each other at points, saying, you know, "I didn't get a letter today. Did you write one, or is it just the post office that's messing up sending them to me?" And he keeps reporting back, "Yeah, I wrote you a letter, and I keep writing, and I'm not getting any from you either. You're not writing enough." I mean, the tone is kidding, but they are taking each other to task because they really wanted the letters. They really, really enjoyed getting these letters from each other and being able to stay in touch while they were apart.
And did you match up, once these had been found, did you match them up with his? Was there any discovery process there?
Exactly. No, those letters became public in the mid-1980s. And my mother made them public, and Bob Farrell wrote a very good book, Dear Bess, my grandfather's letters to my grandmother, and he used about half of the 1,300. So in matching my grandfather's letters to my grandmother's, I have had to go back and take the ones that have been published and the ones that Bob didn't use. So there are a few letters that actually have not been made public of his. So they're probably about half. You know, sometimes I'll have 6 of the published ones and 3 or 4 of the unpublished ones. But trying to match them up so you have them talking back and forth.
And finally, as a last question, as a relative and a student of history, would you argue now against burning the letters? I mean, you're glad you have these? Do you wish she'd kept the rest? And what advice would you have for the current occupants of the White House?
Yeah, I do wish I had the rest, and I think that my grandmother, I understand why she did it. My grandfather was the complete opposite. He saved absolutely everything. Everything he wrote down, reams of pages and pages he wrote to himself to try and figure out what he was going to do about a certain problem or just get things off his chest. So we know my grandfather's mind very, very well. It's harder with my grandmother, so I wish that we had a deeper understanding of who she was. These 180 letters help quite a bit, but I understand why she did it, because a lot of it's, you know, she's a little hard on people occasionally. She's kind of, you know, she's sarcastic, she's a little snippy at times. So I understand why she wanted to kind of keep that off the table.
Well, we're glad we found these anyway. Clifton Truman Daniel, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.